Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely historic clash from the 2022 World Cup. We are dissecting a semifinal matchup that honestly had absolutely everything. You've got the defending champions stepping onto the pitch with a massive target on their backs, going head-to-head with a historic underdog, carrying the hopes of an entire continent. The tactics, the raw emotion, it was just football at its absolute peak. So let's set the stage and figure out exactly how things unfolded on that fateful night in Qatar. Just listen to this call from the live broadcast. The world champions will be crowned, but others have their dreams and their histories to write. Wow, that single line perfectly captures the massive, almost suffocating emotional weight hanging over the stadium before a single ball was even kicked. The yearning for these legends to claim the ultimate prize was so incredibly strong. We had two teams out there, ready to leave literally everything on the pitch for the right to advance. Okay, so to really grasp this game, we have to look at the pre-match context. On one side, you've got France, the defending champions. They've got this incredibly clinical attack, blistering pace, and that undeniable pedigree of winning on the biggest stage. They are laser-focused on going for back-to-back titles. But on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, Morocco. They were riding an unprecedented underdog run, fueled by just pure, passionate, gritty defensive fight. And this is a huge catch. They were coming into this game battling severe injuries to their key defensive anchors, warriors like Romain Saïss and Nosar Mazraoui. It was the classic unstoppable force meeting a battered yet totally unyielding object, a true masterclass in mentality versus sheer talent.
Which brings us to Act 1, the early blow.
You know, in knockout football, fortunes can flip in the literal blink of an eye. You can spend days drawing up the perfect tactical masterclass, but the second that whistle blows, chaos takes over. Just look at the sheer agility required in this opening sequence. First, Kylian Mbappe gets a quick shot off inside the penalty area. The Moroccan defense actually does its job here and smothers it. But then the ball takes this wild, unpredictable deflection, bouncing up ridiculously high, almost at head height. And then bam, Theo Hernandez comes flying in out of nowhere. He has to hike his foot up nearly to his shoulder just to keep the ball down, and he delivers the stunning acrobatic finish to find the back of the net. Absolute pure opportunism.
And honestly, that moment right there, that brilliantly illustrates exactly why France are the world champions. As the commentary noted, they instantly grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. Just minutes in, they completely flipped the script. They capitalized on a split second of chaos and immediately forced a battered Moroccan side to do the one thing they desperately wanted to avoid: chase the game against one of the most lethal counterattacking teams on the planet.
And so begins Act 2, the relentless push.
So despite that absolute nightmare of a start, and on top of that losing their captain Romain Saïss early on when his body just wouldn't let him run anymore, Morocco didn't fold. No way. Their relentless pushback up the field created this fascinating micro-narrative out wide. You had Kylian Mbappe with his blistering pace, locked into a one-on-one battle against his own club teammate, Achraf Hakimi. Mbappe was constantly threatening to get in behind, which meant Hakimi, under immense pressure as Morocco pushed up, was forced into some surprisingly clumsy late challenges. It was basically a heavyweight boxing match happening right there on the flank. But as that first half was ticking down, Morocco unleashed a frantic, urgent fight back. Hakim Ziyech started taking a really direct approach, whipping in these incredibly dangerous, perfectly fashioned set pieces. Ezzedine Ounahi was stepping up too, unleashing urgent strikes from distance with real verve and belief. And then, the absolute climax of this pressure. Jawad El Yamek. He tracks the ball in the air, leaps backward, and executes a completely unbelievable acrobatic bicycle kick that clatters directly off the frame of the goal. Ooh, acrobatic. And off the post from El Yamek. What an incredible effort. We just have to pause here. Seriously, think about the sheer athleticism and the profound heartbreak of that exact moment. It was almost the stuff of absolute legend. So agonizingly unlucky. But man, what an incredible end to the half for Morocco. It showed everyone watching that they were still very, very much alive in this fight. Moving on to our next phase, the defensive wall. So, heading into the second half, Morocco had the momentum. They had the belief. To hold on to that one-goal lead, France had to completely transition into this resolute, unyielding unit to weather the storm. And the really crucial takeaway here is how individual players stepped up to form that wall. Ibrahima Konate was an absolute rock, making a vital game-saving challenge to stop a surging Sofiane Amrabat. Raphael Varane relied on his veteran instincts, getting himself perfectly positioned for crucial interceptions deep in his own box. But honestly, the biggest revelation? Antoine Griezmann. He completely abandoned his usual attacking flair to operate almost like a third center back. He became this vital defensive anchor, reading the game beautifully.
The match commentary actually nailed it, calling him Griezmann the coolest man in the building. It's just so fascinating to see how an elite attacker successfully morphed into this deep defensive role. Whenever Morocco committed to a dangerous challenge or whipped a tricky ball into the box, who was there? Griezmann. Dropping between the center backs, perfectly timing his movements, and just calmly sweeping the danger away. His defensive intelligence was a massive reason France kept that clean sheet.
Which brings us to the finale, Act 3, the knockout punch.
As the clock is ticking down, Morocco is desperately throwing more red shirts forward, leaving themselves totally vulnerable at the back. And France? They are just waiting to seal their destiny. It all starts in an absolute flash. Mbappé, seemingly out of thin air, comes alive inside the box. He instantly commits the Moroccan defense, drawing multiple players toward him like a giant magnet.
And just look at those dancing feet. The agility in such tight spaces is completely astounding. He's weaving, he's turning. The Moroccan defenders are swarming him, desperately trying to bottle him up, but his close control in the penalty area is simply too much to handle. Let's actually break down the mechanics of this knockout punch, because it is tactical brilliance born out of pure individual skill. First, Mbappé executes this sharp little turn that completely drags Hakimi under the ball. Next, a bit of lovely combination work in the middle creates just enough room for Marcus Thuram to operate. Then, the ball finds its way right back to Mbappé. He literally dances through a sea of red shirts, fires a shot that takes a lucky deflection, and it breaks perfectly to the far post. And who's there? Substitute Randall Kolo Muani, ready to top in the absolute simplest goal of his life. As Kolo Muani wheeled away in celebration, having literally just stepped onto the pitch seconds before, the announcer shouted that he has made the kind of impact a substitute dreams of. You could physically feel the sheer joy and absolute relief washing over the French squad. In that single instant, all the tension finally broke. The victory was secured. But of course, with that goal, the dream fades for Morocco. When the final whistle eventually blew, it marked the end of an unprecedented, historic, and undeniably brave run. They threw absolutely everything they had at the World Champions. They battled through terrible injuries and fought until the very last second. Ultimately, France's clinical edge was just a bit too much. But man, it's a powerful reminder that while a tactical edge might win you trophies, pure heart is what actually captures the world's imagination. So, France survived the intense Moroccan storm, keeping their hands firmly gripped on that World Cup trophy. But looking ahead to the final chapter, one massive, looming question remains. Can the magical Messi and Argentina finally wrestle it from their grasp?